Hello friends, Gary Goodhue here with the power of attunement. If this is your first time on this channel, then go ahead and subscribe, turn on your notifications, hit the like button. We've got a great episode here today. I want to talk to you about handling stress in the workplace. I don't know if you've ever felt stress from work. I know I have, most of us have. And yet, since practicing attunement, my amount of stress has significantly reduced. And I want to share with you 3 specific ways that you too can reduce your stress by practicing attunement. Number 1, get centered, get present. See, most of the stress that we experience doesn't come from what's happening right in front of us. It comes from what did happen or the possibility of what might happen, either from the past or from the future, not from the present. And so, if we're present, then we can actually give all of our focus, of our attention, that has otherwise been diffused out here in thinking about this conversation or the thing that happened that we didn't like, or thinking about the potential of something happening that we don't like. And when we let all of that go, then we actually focus all of our attention and energy into this particular present moment. Now, what that leads to is not only less stress, but greater creativity, greater productivity, greater focus, greater ability to be clear and centered inside of our moment. See, most things actually end up working themselves out anyway. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but the amount of worry and anxiety that we put into future scenarios not working out the way that we want them to feels valid in the moment because there is a potential that could exist. But what I found for myself is that the majority of time, that potential doesn't ever actually end up happening. And so I'm investing all of this energy into negative thoughts about what could happen when chances are it probably won't even happen anyway. I find that when I can let go of all of that and just get fully clear, fully present inside of this moment, then I'm a lot more at peace. And I can be better at what I'm doing, the thing that is in front of me that is mine to do. A couple ways that you can use to help get present is by taking a deep breath. Just by breathing, everything begins to relax inside of the body, inside of the mind. Relaxation is hugely important because stress causes tension. Not only tension in our mind, but tension inside of our body. So anything that we can do to help ourselves relax in a moment will be hugely helpful for reducing stress. Breath is a great way to do that. So the next time you're feeling stressed out, just take a couple moments. Count to 3, count to 5. Take a few deep breaths, and you'll find that you begin to relax and release a lot of that stress, and you actually become more present because of it. Now, step number 2, this technique actually does involve the imagination, but not the negative use of the imagination that shows up in worry and anxiety that causes stress, but the positive use of it. And that's by thinking positively, by imagining or visioning into a positive outworking of whatever it is that's still in process within your experience. So maybe you have something going out where you're like asking for a raise, or maybe you're going for a promotion, or maybe you have a big project on the line and you still have to work on that. Our mind can have a tendency towards going towards the worst case scenarios, and that will cause stress, as we just talked about. But what about imagining into the potential of things going really well? Imagining that you do get that raise, you do get that promotion. Imagining that your presentation or the project that you're working on ends up going really well and impresses everybody. It makes an impact, a positive impact. See, the more that you imagine this, not only are you sending vibrational signals out into the field that's calling that reality to you, into your experience, but you're actually able to be in the present moment and approach the task in front of you much more confidently, with much more ease, if you are imagining that it's going to work out perfectly. If you're not, if you're imagining the worst case scenario, then there's all this dread and fear that you're bringing into the present moment and putting into the work. Does that make sense? Depending on the picture that we're holding of how a thing will turn out, that actually influences and affects how we show up inside of that thing that hasn't even manifested yet. Because we're in a process of creating. We're always in a process of creating our next experience. And if we can recognize that we have causal responsibility as creators, then one of the things that we can do is seed the field and imagine, vision, pray for things to work out really well in a really good way. And this doesn't just relate to a situation, but it also relates to relationships. A lot of stress comes from relationships inside of the workplace with our boss, our employees, our coworkers. These don't always go well and leave us feeling good, because there's a lot of different type of people and they have a lot of different things going on inside of their own reality. So it takes something to address someone, to talk about an issue that you're having within a dynamic, a relationship within another person. Not everyone is able to do that, and not everyone has the tools to be able to do that effectively. If you do, and that's in your comfort zone, then go ahead and do that, because clear, honest communication is always a good way to go and will improve relationships. However, direct communication isn't the only option that you have. We have a mind that is supremely powerful. If you imagine into that relationship manifesting and showing up in a way that is an ideal of the type of interaction that you want to have with that other person, then you will find that you actually start to invite a container where that person shows up that way in front of you. See, here's a tricky little thing. It's very amazing. People show up in our presence according to how we expect them to show up for us. Now, you could say that there's a lot of scenarios where that doesn't happen, but let me explain this. When you have thoughts about a person that are judgmental, when you have ill feelings towards a person, those things get subtly communicated in your interaction with the other person, and the other person will pick up on these feelings. They'll pick up on the vibrational quality. They'll pick up on that subtle communication. We know when we're in the presence of someone that doesn't like us, that is having bad thoughts towards us. We might not be able to identify exactly what it is, but there's a difference in a feeling between being with someone like that and being with someone who cares and is out for our best interest and wants to understand what's going on in our experience. One causes us to close down and even go into a defensive mode, while the other causes us to open up and create greater connection. So simply by running through scenarios of imagination, of you being in a certain kind and connective way with another person, and them responding in the same way with you, will actually subconsciously get the ball rolling, so that the next time you are in an interaction with that person, you're showing up in a different way. And because of how you're holding and seeing them in your mind, you're inviting them as well to show up in a different way with you. So it's a beautiful way to use attunement and vibrational practice in order to increase the potential, the positive potential of things working out in a good way, both within relationships and situations. Number 3, reduce meaning and importance. Humans are meaning-making machines. We have a tendency to make meaning out of anything. We take one little piece of information and we can wrap an entire story around it and put meaning on it that may or may not be at all accurate. And it doesn't matter, because if we believe it, that's the reality that we're living out of. So, we do the same thing with importance. We can take something that sure may have a level of importance, it may need to be done, it may need to be accomplished, but we could pile so much importance onto it as if this thing doesn't happen perfectly, then all the rest of this will never work out well. As soon as we do that, we are actually causing our own stress. We put stress on ourselves by up-leveling the meaning and importance that are involved in the things that are ours to do. And sometimes other people actually transfer their ideas of meaning and importance to us, and we take that on. So both are challenges that we have to be aware of and keep an eye out for. But regardless of how we got there, if we simply take the practice of reducing the meaning and importance, thereby recognizing that, yes, this is a thing that has to be done. And it has some meaning and it has some importance, but chances are we've actually inflated that to a greater degree than is actually true. And we're giving ourselves stress because of it. So if we reduce that, then we naturally reduce our stress. And I know there's a challenge that comes up with that, because there's the ideas that come up, but these things are important. These things do mean a lot. Like if I don't do this well, then I might not advance in a good way in my job and be able to provide for my children. I might not keep my job and be able to keep my house. And these are very real world factors. I'm not saying that that might not be true. If you don't do a thing, then this might happen. However, this isn't about not accomplishing, not being productive. It's about the stress that we incur because of our inflated meaning and importance that we put on things. And sure, sometimes we might not get the job done within a certain time frame. Sometimes someone might not be happy with our performance. Sometimes we might even get fired. I'm not trying to encourage any of those things happening for you. But if we look at the chance of that thing happening and recognize that it's not actually as bad as we've built it up to be, because you get fired, you go get another job. Somebody doesn't like the job that you did, you can learn from them and apply and do something different to do a better job in the future. There's always a next moment. There's always a new opportunity. And yet we seem to build things up in our mind like everything rides on this one moment and on this one thing. If we can let all of that go, then we're actually going to be more calm, once again, as we approach that scenario and with what we put ourselves into it. Meaning and importance are a thing that we do all of the time, and it happens inside of our consciousness. If we can catch it and actually reduce it, then we're able to live from a more neutral place. And from a neutral place, we can approach things in a really good way because we're not charged extremely positively or negatively. If the thing works out, we don't go over the hill with high emotions. And if it doesn't work out, drop way down into the low emotions. Sure, there's still going to be some range, but we're able to maintain our peace and our presence through our neutrality by reducing meaning and importance. Okay, now I said there's only 3, but I'm going to go ahead and throw a 4th one in here anyway. It's tracking our response. See, our response is the attention and energy that we give to things that are happening. And there's always things happening. There's good things, there's bad things, there's challenges and learnings or failures, there's successes and things that to celebrate. All of it is present all of the time. However, what we experience more of inside of our experience is what we focus upon, what we give our response to, what we're looking at, listening to, what we're giving our awareness and attention to. So even though there are things happening that you may not like, and that's always going to be the case, there are things happening that you can be grateful for. There are things that are uplifting and joyous. There are things that are working out well, even in the middle of a dumpster fire. It sounds hard to realize and relate to, but it's true. If you look for it, whatever you will look for, you will always find more of whatever you're looking for. So that is our response, what we're giving our attention to, and track it. Track what comes into your field of awareness, and then what you choose to fixate upon, and then what types of thoughts and feelings are you generating around that thing. Chances are that if you're feeling stressed out, you're actually giving your attention and response to stressors, and then letting them affect your thoughts, feelings, your attitudes, your behaviors, what you believe that's real about your experience. And I'm not saying that those things aren't real. I'm just saying they're not the only real things that there are. There are other real things that can actually lift your vibration, take you out of stress, and put you in a positive and peaceful place so that you can move forward in an intentional and productive way. And that's how we succeed. That's how we succeed at our job. That's how we succeed at life. That's how we succeed at relationships. So if you experience stress in the workplace or anywhere else, inside of a family dynamic or a community context, whatever it is, then you can apply some of these different techniques in order to reduce your stress or even keep from going into the stress place to start out with. I hope this has been useful for you. I hope you get something out of it and you produce a more peaceful experience for yourself in your life. Go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any thoughts about this, share inside of a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We know what we express, and we are the ones bringing forth a new reality. Thank you for being with us. Until the next time, namaste.